Hi guys, welcome back to our series on IELTS. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the IELTS reading section. So specifically, I'm going to be looking at the academic, as this is the one that will enable you to study abroad, and this is mainly where LIL Global focuses on helping international students gain their places at university. Similarly to the listening, there are 40 questions, and that's how you're assessed. And in the academic paper, there are 3 different passages. And these go from kind of easier texts all the way to kind of a bit more challenging and difficult. So the 3 texts are kind of authentic or academic, so they're like real life context texts, so they might find them in a newspaper or magazines. So that's another tip for you, is just to read as much as possible because it will really help you with understanding and kind of getting to grips with reading quickly and different skills that you need for reading. So they are written for non-specialists, so you're not expected to be an expert on anything. All the information and all the questions they ask you on will be provided in the text itself. So these texts can be descriptive, so they might be kind of telling a story about how something has changed over time, or they can be argumentative, so there might be a research that's kind of come out and they're saying that this is really important to implement the findings of this research. So they might have diagrams, they might have illustrations. We'll get on to how you might be assessed, so there might be different types of questions you might face in the next section. But as I mentioned, the texts definitely get more difficult, so it's very important to manage your time well. So on that note, you have 1 hour for the exam, and you're given the test, and you're able to manage your time completely freely. Obviously there are 3 texts, and so kind of logically you might think about 20 minutes per text. Well, this is one way that some students approach the exam, but I often suggest, seeing as they get progressively more difficult as the texts go on, is maybe to spend slightly less time on the first text, and then about 15 minutes, and then in the second text to spend about 20 minutes, and then leaving yourself kind of 25 minutes to answer the questions for the last passage, seeing as it's going to be the most difficult one. So I'm going to move on now to talk about the different types of questions that you might face in the IELTS reading academic paper. So in this section, we're going to look at the different task types that you'll be asked to complete in the IELTS reading academic section. So as we've already mentioned, there are 3 passages, and for each passage you have between 12 and 14 questions to answer. So these can take on about 11 different types, so it can get quite confusing to manage them all, but I'm going to quickly go through each type and give an example as well. The first one is the multiple choice one. This is probably the simplest one, again, similar to the listening, but in this one you might be chosen just to answer 1 correct answer from a list from A to E, for instance, or you might choose 2 correct answers, or even 3 correct answers at times. So it's really key that you can understand paraphrase and synonyms when you do the IELTS reading, because when you're asked a question about something, it might not appear exactly the same in the text. So there's different skills that you'll need to complete the different tasks and different ways to approach them. Because you only have 1 hour to read all these texts, your time is quite limited. So how you organize your time is really key, and employing the right skills for the right questions is really important. So the second task type is identifying information. So that's the true, false, not given. So you'll be given a list of statements, and you'll have to say, is this true according to the text? Is this false according to the text? Or is it impossible to tell because the information is not given in the text? These questions are very similar to the third type, which is identifying the writer's views or claims. But instead of being true, false, this is yes and no, not given. So is this, it'll present it with different views from the writer, and say, is this view what the writer says, or is it not what the writer says? And you have to choose yes or no, or is it just not what the writer talks about at all? So the fourth type is matching information. So in matching information tasks, you're just given a list of information and you have to choose which paragraph you find it in the text. Yeah, so you're really going to be practicing your scanning skills and skim reading for that task. For the sixth task, you have matching for the fifth one, you have matching headings. So kind of similarly to task 4, but instead of for specific information, you're given like an overview. What is each paragraph about? So you're given a list of headings, and there are always more headings than there are paragraphs, so some of them are not relevant at all. And so you just need to skim read, maybe the first line and the last line and maybe a line in the middle for that kind of topic sentence. And then from there you can kind of get an overview of what each paragraph is about and choose an appropriate heading from that list. Okay, and then another matching exercise is the matching sentence endings. So you're given the start of a sentence and you're given a list of sentence endings, and you've got to match the most appropriate one according to the text, which is really key. And then you also have kind of sentence completion tasks. So that's just a very short response to complete the sentence. Which are pretty simple and straightforward, but again, it's always understanding paraphrase and understanding kind of the way synonyms can be used, because it might appear slightly different in the question than it is in the text. And if you can understand that, then that's really, really good. So the ninth task is the kind of summary or notes or table flowchart completion. And again, in all the questions, it's really important to note how many words you need to complete this. And if you notice in our example here, it's only one word. Yeah, so if you write 2 words, you will not get the mark. So it's very important to really pay attention to that. Okay, and then the 10th task type is labeling a diagram. So you might be given a diagram of a construction site, and in the reading is about that same topic, and you need to find the relevant information that's missing. So it's really good to study the diagram first to understand what you're looking at, and then you can kind of have an idea about what sort of information you'll be needing to extract from the text in order to complete that diagram. And then the last type is just the short answer questions. So again, here it's very important to understand paraphrase and synonyms, and also to follow the instructions very carefully. So as I already mentioned, my general tips are just to manage your time, because it's really, really challenging to read those texts in the hour. So you're not going to have time to do a detailed reading of every section and go over and over it. You're going to need to employ skim reading at certain points depending on the text. And there are some different task types that I would recommend to maybe read the task type first and really study the task type to fully understand, and whereas there are some where it's more important to do a reading first of all. So I will go over those in subsequent videos, and we'll go through examples, and I'll do a breakdown of each different task type in videos to come in this series. But just in general, just try and read. So maybe download a news app. So it might be Guardian, BBC World News or something, and every day read an article from there, because it'll just help you get more familiar with language. And of course, if you can practice from specific IELTS exam papers, that's also very useful. Okay, thanks very much, and in the next video we'll be talking about IELTS writing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you are interested in studying further, here in Hey Mohammadi we offer an IELTS preparation course. So the teacher is myself, and we run regular courses. So if you are interested, please get in touch, either by giving us a call or visit our website and send us an email, lilglobal.co.uk. And I look forward to welcoming you into the classroom soon.